With the videos I've been posting recently, it doesn't really show half of what I've been putting myself through, right? This video is basically just going to show you like the process of how I got myself into the rut, the basically year-long rut that I've been in, and how I got myself out basically instantly in one night. Like, I'm not even joking at all. This is how it ended up being. So I was constantly doing the wrong decisions, right? I was basically doing the wrong decisions no matter what all the time, right? Now, here's what the problem was. Now, I was basically doing the wrong decisions all the time, even though I knew they were bad decisions. I knew the second and third order consequences of that, but I still did it either way. And I have been trying to fix it for the longest time. Before, it was maybe like about a week worth of rut, and I would feel horrible about it, but it's been a year, and basically I haven't felt anything about it. No remorse. I felt completely complacent, and I didn't really feel bad about it, which was the worst part, because I spent so much time to curate this kind of sense of who I am. And it basically, whole last year, I did things that went directly against that. But only after I found this deep tap of like human willpower and, motivation, was I able to actually immediately, overnight, just get out of it. Now, if you click on this video, you've probably been experiencing a rut for a long time. I experienced my rut from summer 2024 to summer 2025, and basically all of that time was completely wasted. Almost nothing was productive at that time. I went to the gym as much as I could because that was part of my standard, my identity that could not be broken at that point. But even then, it was sporadic and I had injuries. And if you've read Psycho-Cybernetics, you know that what you subconsciously think, your mind is going to kind of find a way to make that happen. So I subconsciously thought that, there's no point to doing any of this. So I found ways to basically get myself injured, doing tiny, dumb little mistakes. I actually reverted to some of my old habits, which I had spent so much time diligently focusing on and removing and getting rid out of my life, but I snapped back to it like that because of this rut and because of how long it was. But recently it just clicked all in one single day. Basically, essentially overnight, I had this kind of realization on what actually was the problem and how I could fix it. So I'm Amon. I basically help people with mental and physical health reframes like these, and I also help people lose weight. So if you're interested in that, click the link in the description below, and you'll see basically what I'm doing to help people lose weight. You can see right here on screen how I lost my weight, and I got a little bit fat again because of this rut, and I'll show you in a couple of months how I'll lose the weight once again. And it's simple, predictable, so if you're interested in something kind of no bullshit, then click the link in the description. So if you look at my YouTube channel, I have this video called Have You Wasted the Past 6 Months? And I kind of made that video as it was kind of something that I was like thinking I've been wasting the past 6 months, right? I felt like in the first half of 2024, I was unguided. I was just doing as much as I could, but I was kind of waiting for like the next purpose layer to open. If you read The Way of the Superior Man, basically he talks about how your purpose as a man is kind of like layers. It's like an onion. You peel back one layer is like, I don't know, helping homeless or something. Boom. Let's say you solve that. You solve it as much as you want to until you feel like you should be doing something else, and the next layer is like, I don't know, start a business. Boom, next layer, and then keep on peeling back the layers. So I basically felt like I was kind of unguided and I needed to start something new, right? So I basically shut down the business towards the tail end of 2024. I felt like I had to actually do something when 2024 started, but I felt kind of unguided for the first 6 months, which is why I released that video. It was kind of detailing my ideas around that time. So from that point on, I made one single mistake. I was thinking like I take a full week off, just experience like random things, right? And I thought that would maybe reignite my, motivation. So I spent the first I spent 1 week basically just playing games and doing whatever. And after that, everything kind of spiraled and went downhill. So basically, this is the reason that my rut actually was initiated for. Essentially, this broke my identity. So your identity is very crucial to how you actually achieve things and what actually gets done. If people keep on telling you you are this kind of person, eventually it fucks with your mind and you're not going to actually try to do enough or put enough energy into the problem to kind of reverse what people are telling you should be. And it's even worse when you tell yourself you are this person, because then it becomes near impossible to try to change things, right? Unless you find some sort of source of inspiration that you want to actually kind of uproot your life and change everything around. Part of my identity at that time, before actually the 1 week that I just spent playing video games, that was also another video I made called I Spent a Week Getting Addicted to Video Games. I was thinking it was just like this random rationalization that my brain was doing just make me kind of like complacent. It was just like, okay, do this like experiment, make it like a YouTube video idea, right? Obviously that was like the external manifestation of like how actually things played out. What actually was happening was my brain was like fucking with me very hard. So my identity at that point in time was basically like I would play games 2 times per year max, like with people like at friends birthdays. So like, you know, when there's like 8, 9, 10 people all huddle around the PS4 playing random games. There's other people playing pool. Like it's fun, right? It's like actually doing activities with friends and having fun. Playing games by yourself in your own room, that's not exactly fun. It's just wasting time. Now because that, I could not really delay gratification as much. Doing the hard activities like, I don't know, recording YouTube videos or thinking of business ideas or, you know, actually going to work and doing some work, I don't know, helping my family around the house. That happened less. I started to get irritated more, and worst of all, my mindset, which I had so perfectly curated, it kind of went to shit. Because I ended up doing the bare minimum and, you know, getting those instant gratification activities all day, all time, for a whole week straight, it messed up everything and it spiraled out of control. So because it violated my identity, as of September 2024, it broke down and it became, let's call it like the degenerate version of Amon. That was September 2024. Obviously, I'm grateful that the degenerate version of me is just playing video games and doing some other bad habits like not eating good, while it could be so much worse for other people. So I'm grateful for that, but it's still very incomprehensible to me. It would have been incomprehensible to me in 2023 to even think that I would be doing something like that. So to get better, I knew I had to redefine my goals and find some other kind of motivation or some other goal to actually work towards that I wanted to, right? It would be much better if I wanted to work towards it. That's how most of my goals have been in my life. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to look better. I wanted to get a better physique. I wanted to build a business. I wanted to have, you know, those skills of marketing, sales, advertising, all of that. That's why I ended up doing it. Now, I know that was the only thing that I had to do. I just had to sit down for maybe 2 or 3 hours, right? And that is almost all that I would need to actually redefine my goals, to set up forth a new goal. Even if that wasn't the actual goal, I would still start progressing towards that goal, and I would realize I would want to do this, I want to do something similar, and I'll progress towards that, right? Completely fine. That's how life works. That's the purpose. I just want to get somewhere, right? I want to start doing something. But because my mind was so fried because of that one tiny mistake, deciding to play a week worth of video games, that's how it ended up fucking up anything that I had to do with, like, you know, actually getting to work and doing that one specific task. My mind had procrastinated that task for a full year. Only a couple of weeks ago did I actually start doing something similar to that, and I didn't even fully do that. It's gonna be kind of weird when I tell you what actually got me to change my motivation and actually do what needed to be done. But yeah, I'm just gonna show you some calendar events. Like from the past year, I just said, do this one task, do this one task, do this one task. I kept ignoring it. I kept on making these calendar events, and there's probably like 30 of them or 40 of them, you know, once every couple of weeks or every other week, I don't know. Fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, I was basically still that degenerate, but I uncovered basically a tap of, you know, my human willpower and discipline that I have not really, you know, tapped into before. But this is basically not like the exact goal, but like a more of like a motivation, like a direction, like a sense of direction. Like I know to go like northeast instead of, you know, at least it's going south, right? It gives me just that much clarity, not to the exact degree, but like the general direction. It doesn't matter like about, you know, what you're actually doing, it just matters about like the tiny bit of direction you have. Okay, let me tell you where I got this motivation from. WWE 2K25. What the fuck? That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. How does that actually help you on your self-improvement journey, right? It should not. It does not make any sense. But somehow it sparked something, some kind of thing in my mind that actually made me kind of do this transformation back to where I was overnight. Now let me explain. There's a game mode called My Rise. In the game, you make your own character, you make it look like yourself, and you make it look as if you were playing through the WWE with your own character, and it has a story and everything. But you play this game as if you were saving it from a hostile takeover. So I created my character, and obviously I made him super buff, and I started playing throughout the game, but there was this one point in the game where you actually just are able to choose the second character. So I chose a girl, and I made her obviously super hot. And after that, I kind of realized, like, imagine if I had not been complacent for the whole year. I could have been in that actual position, like, pretty buff and having that relationship, right? Or I could have been in a position where, like, at least I would be maybe at least a quarter of the way to the peak physique that I want, like, at the bare minimum. If I just was not complacent and I just spent like another 300 days consistently working out and consistently eating well, imagine how much further I could have gone. But instead, I didn't, and guess where I'm at now. And it's not even just in one domain, because the one domain that I let in my life slip, which was the most important, that affected everything else. Like, I barely even passed discrete math in my university. So this basically showed me the version of myself that I let go, because I was on a pretty steady track going up and up, and then there's a fork in the road, right? Essentially, versus where I should have been continuing and where I ended up going. I was going down and down and down, but thankfully I saved myself here so it doesn't go any further down. But still, that is a lot of progress to be lost. 1 full year worth of compounding progress essentially is completely gone, and actually reversed a little bit. Now I have to work extra hard to fix the problems that I started there. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, I know I could have gotten to that point, right? Because when I was working on my business, like, that is not the one that I'm doing now, right? But when I was working on that, I was, sitting in libraries doing work, and girls were just coming up to me and giving me their phone number, and I was just sitting there, and that's fine, right? But yeah, that's happened like multiple times when I was like on my grind, focused. I was completely focused on one task only. I was being the best version of myself possible every day. I was at one point doing 2 cold showers in the morning. Once as soon as I wake up, then go to the gym, then come back, then do another. I was like better than everyone in the school, 100% sure. I'm 100% sure of that, right? There were only a couple, maybe like 5, 6 guys who were, competitive with me at that point, with whatever domain of their life, be that sports, business, or like, muscle, I don't know. Only a couple of guys in the school were competitive with me at that point, right? But I basically lost all of that because I made one mistake, right? Like, I had can you imagine that? One tiny mistake of deciding, to listening to my brain, to the bad part of my brain, saying, play video games for a week, make a video on that, and, you'll be fine, right? That one tiny mistake, that derailed my life for a whole year, which is bad. Now, here's the learning lesson, right? So, you've got to realize that if you're in a rut, you can either think about it in 2 ways. Let's say if you're spiritual, like you're religious, I guess. You've got to let's say if you're spiritual or religious, you've got to realize there is a plan that God has for you, right? You have to have faith in that what that plan is. This rut is part of that plan. This rut is part of something better, something bigger that will help you in the long run. But on another hand, you also have to realize this rut is the direct consequence of your actions, right? What you did a while ago is resulting in what is happening right now. Maybe you could have reacted differently to what actually derailed you. Maybe you could have sought different help. You could have done something a little bit better. You could have thought about something more before doing the action or something. There are a lot of things that actually probably resulted in, or that could have helped you not have this result, not be in this rut. And on top of that, even being in this rut, there are multiple decisions, many thousands of probably opportunities to, work yourself out of it. But you didn't take them, and you're in the rut right now, so you have to take ownership of that right now. This is your fault, but there is a plan to get out of it. You got to realize that ruts will happen from time to time, and this is also a skill in and of itself. Getting out of ruts as quick as possible. Before, it used to be a week maximum of downtime of just like a little bit less productivity for me. That's how my ruts used to be. But this is a whole year. That's way too much for anybody, especially how I hold myself accountable and to my standards. Now, somehow, thank God, this game, I don't know how I managed to stumble upon this game, how I managed to get into this game mode, how I managed to have all of these things come together, and it managed to inspire me and make me think more about and deeply about what I could have been and what decision I made specifically that got me down to where I am now. So I ended up finally changing my identity. I realized, like, if I want to get back to the position that I should have been at, I'm gonna have to, one, work harder. I'm gonna get there later. It's gonna take more time, but I will eventually get there, only if I do the correct actions. So now, this is how it's going. So when you get better and better, you change yourself, you have different versions of yourself. So originally aim on version 1.0 before I started to like, trying to improve myself, trying to lose weight. Then aim on 2.0. I'm still a little bit above aim on 2.0 right now. I have still a little bit of weight to lose because of my bulk did not go correct, injuries and stuff, right? Again, my fault, totally. I know. But from aim on 2.0 to 3.0, I kind of didn't have a clear goal of aim on 3.0 in my head. And that is also another reason why I wasn't completely guided for the first half of 2024, which likely led to this thing actually happening. Now I'm creating another version, aim on 3.5. That version is the more refined version that I know that I will get to, and I'm changing the goals constantly as I try to get there, trying to realize what is actually needed to get there, right? Because I know the end point, but I don't know the exact path to get there. This is kind of a different approach to that I'm taking to, trying to define where my goals should be. Let's see if this works. If not, I'll go back to the same idea that I had before, which did work for sure, but I'm not sure if it's going to work going forward because I tried the same thing and it did not get me the, a better result. So my action steps now are just to lock in suading, right, as the Chinese say. But I have to get back to where I was at aim on 2.0. I have to get myself back to basically where I was a year ago, and lose some weight. I already have a lot more muscle than I did then, so that is one thing that is a little bit better from then to now. But I have to do a proper cut back to where I want to be, then another bulk again, whatever, and then definitely start building out my next business. Now, the one thing that has changed from the goals then to now is the goals then were completely, you could use it selfish, right? Obviously, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a goal for yourself to make yourself better. But now this next kind of set of goals is kind of for my future self, like for his family, for, everything that surrounds that, all the people that rely on me in that version of me, all the people that rely on me in that version of me, and the wife, the kids, all of that. So it changes the mindset. It makes you a little bit more mature instead of like being this free roaming person just doing whatever, it doesn't matter, right? As soon as it changes to be for the family, you have to be a little bit more responsible, right? You can't just do things willy-nilly. You have to be a little bit more calculated with what you're doing, right? So imagine this scenario: I get a son or a daughter, right? It doesn't matter who really, like, it's a 50-50, and independent of who the mother is, right? Imagine in the scenario where I was going down and I'm complacent, that I tell them, hey, I can't buy you this toy, or I can't give you the life that you should have had because I was complacent, in summer 2024 all the way until summer 2025. Imagine that, right? That I have to tell them that they do not have the life that they deserve because I did not do what was correct. I did not do what was required. Imagine another scenario where we're all, on the beach having fun, being happy, right? And I get to tell them that this is because of the hard work that I put in now. So it changes how you think about everything. Like, how can I tell those kids that this tiny one simple bad decision derailed my life? And on top of that, I couldn't make the one hard decision to actually get back up. So the rut happened because of a bad decision in around April 2024. The rut continued because I broke my identity down. I changed who I thought about myself as a person. That reflected in the people around me as well. They started to change their perception of who I was, so it kind of was a downward spiral. Now, normally when you break down your identity, it's to break it down, think about who you want to be next, and then upgrade, and then work towards that. But this time I didn't do it. I just broke it down and let it be. And obviously that's not a good way to go about it. Obviously, it's not like I intentionally designed my life and intentionally made this happen, but I kind of was just like complacent and I just wasn't thinking. That was the problem. I let that one mistake derail my life, and I didn't think about the ways that it was good, like continuing to derail and not allowing me to get back up. Okay, so what should you do? So first of all, analyze what single decision, what single moment resulted in this rut. It's likely a single moment, right? That's most likely what's going to happen. If it's a couple of decisions, that might be possible. I'm not going to take too much time thinking about it because realistically that's not benefiting me. But for me and for a lot of scenarios that I can think about, though, that it would be one single decision, like one single decision you decide to take drugs, one single decision you decide to drink. For me, one decision to decide to play video games. It could be anything, right? You've got to realize that decision that resulted in the rut, and realize, did that mistake actually break your identity? If it broke your identity, it's going to be even worse of a rut, which is what happened now, right? After you know what caused the rut, you can then know how to kind of reverse it. So I know because I made that bad decision of playing video games, it broke my identity down, and then my identity started to change and shift in the wrong way. So now I know I have to start doing the actions that would change my identity back to where it was, and then after that, do more actions to get towards the identity that I want to be, like the goals that I want to be. There's like a delta there that I do have to fill. So for me, I kind of reminded myself of the way my life was before, and also because of that in WWE, the thing that I saw in the game, it kind of reminded me of who I could have been by that point. Now, you have to think about it though. It might be better to not even just try to go, right, just say you're at version 2.0, right? 2.0, and you kind of downgrade to version 1.75 or something. You want to go up to 2.5, right? But it might be the case that that's not possible. So it might be better to, instead of spend 2 years trying to get from 1.75 to 2.5, it might be better to just try to go as quickly as possible back to version 2, and then from there maybe it might take 6 months to get back to version 2.5 or something. Maybe the version you are right now currently, it cannot be upgraded. That might be a possibility. You might have to first go back to where you were and then start going back up and trying to hit your goals. Like, let's think about it like cavemen, right? So let's define a hunter named Bob. Let's say that Bob's tribe recently discovered like sedatives and stimulants and stuff like that. Sedatives like weed, and stimulants like, I don't know, cocoa beans, or like I don't know, a certain kind of fruit, whatever. Let's say that the hunters in the tribe know it's 100% not good to sedate yourself. And then let's start thinking that, Bob does take a sedative, right, like weed or something, and he does have reduced performance. He couldn't find anything, he couldn't hunt anything. He actually brought the rest of his team down in the tribe, the hunters. He brought them all down because he couldn't perform as well, and thus no one got any food. No one could get any food for the tribe. Now let's say Bob breaks his identity because of this. He thinks that he can't find the food anymore, right? But it's a fluke, right? Next time he does the same sedative again, but same result again, because he could not perform well. He was inhibiting his teammates, they could not perform well, no one could perform well, no food is brought back to the tribe. Now Bob starts to think that he is bad luck for the tribe, for the team, the hunter team. Little does Bob know it's because of that one tiny mistake, right? Now let's say he stops doing this sedatives, right? Maybe because of this identity change that's happened in his mind, now he will subconsciously try to find a way to fuck things up, and eventually he will, his identity would be so messed up at that point that he can't even end up hunting at all. Now let's say he does something like what Dave Data says in The Way of the Superior Man, right? Maybe a purpose layer would just be peeled off for you, and you don't really find enjoyment in it anymore, or you're not really good at it anymore, or like, I don't know, something happens that it's not like your purpose layer anymore. Maybe he thinks that it's in time for his next purpose layer, so he starts working with the ladies in the tribe and foraging for berries and stuff. He starts being like an architect or something, starts building up infrastructure for the tribe, whatever, right? And then he thinks maybe I might still be better as a hunter. That's what I spent all my time on. He goes back to being a hunter. Let's say he goes back to being a hunter because he's not actually properly happy with being an architect, or like building infrastructure, or foraging for berries or whatever. He goes back, but his identity is still broken. He doesn't realize it's because of the the sedative that he took that worsened him, and that actually caused the identity shift. Now let's say he starts to hunt again, and because of the identity shift, he doesn't really perform that well. On top of that, he's rusty as well. Now all of his teammates think that he's bad luck. He'll feel like he's bad luck, and now his identity shifts further down. Now that his identity is broken, it's going to be very, very hard to get back to where he was before. But if he does realize that it was because of the sedative that he took, or like the one single mistake that happened initially that caused this identity shift to happen downwards, then he'll realize that, oh, it's because of that. So let's start completely fresh. Let's look at the facts. Let's see what actually went wrong and see how we can get back to where we were. So you can see the story of Bob, you can see the story of me, you can probably analyze and see some of these things in your own life. And yeah, so essentially that's what it is. You analyze what caused your rut, you try to find a way to reverse the rut, and after you find a way to reverse the rut, then yeah, you just enact on that. And likely, I think that the main cause of these ruts are probably, like major ruts, are probably just identity shifts in the wrong direction. So if you like this video, I think you'll probably like another video that I had about like compartmentalization, basically breaking every task in your life up into a specific area. Okay.
Downgraded, upgraded,
You didn't listen with care. That's something different. Okay, hold on. Let me finish the outro. So you can check out the video that I did about compartmentalization, basically breaking everything up into a tiny little kind of section of your life, each task, and I found that it has resulted in much better focus and much better productivity in everything. Now, go ahead and check out that video if you've seen. Anyone? Okay, now go ahead and check out that video, and I'll see you in that video.